Morning, everyone. My name is Dennis Trainor. I'm the chair of the Joint Authority and Canal Corporation's Audit Committee. Welcome members John Koelmel, Michael Cusick, Lewis Warren, Laurie, Wheelock. Also with us is Trustee Morris and Trustee Gonzalez. Welcome NYPA staff, members who are participating. This is a scheduled committee meeting, which has been duly noticed as required by the Open Meetings Law. I now call this meeting to order. We'll begin with the agenda.
No comment on Juan Soto or the Mets before we get going?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'll talk about that a little later.
Okay.
Don't jinx it. That's right. Do any of the committee members have any amendments to the proposed agenda?
No.
No?
Happy to move it.
All right. It's moved. And second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I'm going to ask Salman Ali, Senior Vice President, Internal Audits, to present the 2024 Internal Audit. Salman, it's all yours.
It's first time at the podium.
Yes,
for
it
us,
is.
yeah.
First time.
A round of applause.
Good morning, trustees,
Morning.
colleagues, members of the public. First, I'd like to thank the board for their support. You know, it's my two months here at NYPA. The transition has been seamless. You know, I've had incredible support from the team and, you know, management as well. Today, I'll be providing an update on the 2024 internal audit internal audit plan, observation trends, and progress we're making on our digital audit strategy. Then I'll have two members of our IA leadership team who will brief you on our quality assurance program, results from our recent external assessment. Then we will move to review and approve our proposed 2025 internal audit budget. So as I go through the material, I look forward for your feedback, insights, you know, as we refine and take our internal audit function forward. You know that's one of the things I'm focused on. So with that, let's begin on the update on the 2024 internal audit scorecard. Next slide, please. Slide after that. So we've taken, previously we had, a scorecard, one for execution, another one for observation. So I've focused, the first part of the presentation is focused on our execution, and then we'll get into the observation status after this. So this slide highlights the progress we're making on the execution of our plan. We've completed 26 reports. Number, has changed since we published the material. So we're currently at about 55%. With that said, we have seven more audit reports expected in December. So we'll reach about 66% completion, and we'll remain on target to meet our year-end target. And as you guys recall, our audit plan is from March to April, as opposed to the calendar year. Our operational excellence KPIs, including our audit cycle, report issuance, and audit opinion, are tracking well against our established targets. We've benchmarked our deliverables against Gartner. So we're well on target on meeting those KPIs we've set for ourselves. One of the comments I'll probably make is the audit deliverable opinion is at 57, and the reason is that we've had more non-opinion based reviews, more focused on strategic initiatives like the ERP and EMS implementation. But as we wrap up the year, we'll end at 69% opinion based results. Our department utilization is above our established thresholds, which shows how we're focused on audit execution efficiency. Overall, we have strong momentum in completing the audit plan, and I commend the team and management team in helping us achieve those objectives to make sure we're resilient, we're executing on our plan, and we're getting our reports out on time. Let's move to the next slide. Any questions? This slide provides a update on our NIPA and canals in EHNS. We've taken metrics from our observations.
Hang on a minute.
Yes.
I think we lost Salman's audio there.
Can you hear me?
The mic clearly went off. That's all. I just want to make sure he gets picked up externally.
Is it good? Okay. On the observations, as it pertains to 2023, we've closed 90% of observations with 8 remaining on track. I know this was one of the areas of focus from previous years, is to make sure the observation we've highlighted in previous years get closed on time. So we've got good actions in place to make sure we bring those to closure. As it pertains to the 2024 plan, 32% are closed, and we haven't seen any extensions. That was one of the key points I highlighted to the team is ensure we're meeting our deliverables, and then it's, I think, having no extension, I think it speaks to the overall culture which has changed in the prior years. And I think I mentioned, it's collaboration between internal audit and management, which has resulted in high closure rates in 2024.
So Salman, if you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
so if you observe something, or you and your team would like to dig into an issue deeper, you work closely with management or their respective departments to figure out what that plan would be, and then you jointly decide a plan of attack. Is that
correct? So as part of our dialogue, when we are issuing the report, we will share the observation. We'll discuss what the action plans are. We'll discuss if it's a long-term or a strategic fix, or if there's short-term fix, right? So we always look at, how do we de-risk the issue, right? So if it's a high-rated issue and the management action plan is 6 months out, we look at how do you mitigate the risk in the short term, right? So, both sort of looking at short-term plans and also as long-term plans.
That's helpful. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Next slide, please. This slide focuses on tracking observation by rating. I think I mentioned prior, for 2024, all high priority observation are progressing on time with no overdue items extensions, and this is across NIPA, canals, and EHNS. For 2024, the focus remains on closing the final few items by their deadlines and ensure risks are mitigated as planned. I mean, in summary, we continue to see a decline in overall observation volume, which I think speaks to the proactive risk culture. I think, our collaboration with the first line, the second line, IBC team, and our stakeholders is strong, which I think we can see in the results in terms of the observation we're seeing and the general downward trend. I know this has been one of the topics which has brought up in the past. I think overall themes, and we'll get into more detail in the March audit committee meeting, but the most prominent themes, I would say, as we are looking at observation just at a high level, has been just overall oversight and control design. But when we've definitely seen progress from 2023 as the volumes have decreased. And we'll have a more holistic update as we get into the 2025 update on 2024 plan. Next slide, please. This is another view, just what I spoke about in terms of 2024 audit. This is more focused on the EHNS plan we have. And, we've closed items, everything is in progress, and we haven't seen any extensions. Next slide. The next few slides, I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I did want to share the 2023 observations we've had. Overall, one of the things we have started tracking is, on target, at caution, and at risk. The observations we had great dialogue with the EMC members on items which are outstanding from prior year. They are on track, and we have full confidence they will close on time. And we'll continue that momentum as we go forward. Next slide.
Well, before you jump, just to jump back to your earlier point. So take the first one, just circumstantially. So you should report March of 24, and the due date for the cleanup or resolution is September of 25. So 18 months later.
Yeah.
That strikes me as a very long extended period of time. And as you've referenced, always trying to, what can we do to accelerate, shorten it up? How do you mitigate the risks that have been identified in here, all the rest of that? Coming in new, any thoughts or observations on our ability to bring closure or resolution sooner than faster, editorialize in general, what you're observing after 60 days, what our opportunity is?
Absolutely. I think the opportunity which I've implemented previously in my previous lives has been more benchmark on these audit issues. So if something is a high, we set, a threshold, okay, it cannot be more than 6 months or 9 months, right? I do feel some of these same observation I had, they are a little longer than expected. But, what a lot of the issues we have short-term plans, which, for this instance, we have a short-term plan on having this is on the canals long-term. So they have implemented the short-term, and that's on target. But, we will look at more coordination between the second line of defense and the first line of defense on having more sort of threshold established, which would bring these timelines much closer.
Okay, yeah, as you said, we can talk more about that, just get further in and year end and all the rest of that, but clearly a focal point.
Yes.
Just a cleanup that does, as you said, historically has made good progress there, but what we can do to accelerate. So
absolutely.
Or how we triage, better triage at a minimum, what needs to be accelerated. Okay.
Yep. Next slide, please. Again, this is just snapshot on how we are on track. These are the observations I wanted to kind of show. So if there's no questions, we can move on to the next slide as well. I wanted to provide an update. I know AI and digital is at the forefront. As an audit function, this is something we're intentionally highly focused on because we do see the potential of using data, using analytics to strengthen the way we audit, augment the way we look at results, and with more precision, as opposed to doing more sample-based testing, which is not the norm anymore. So we have come a long way as part of the build out of our overall digital audit strategy, which continues to deliver value, focusing on expanding our use case and modernization of our AI capabilities. And we're also working on a platform which will help us achieve some of those capabilities. Some of the key achievements wanted to highlight is analytics. We delivered on the fleet operations side, risk management, supply risk management, and information security. We're continuing to look at additional use cases. We have started piloting generative AI for tasks like report writing, audit search, with NIPA rolling out Athena, their own AI platform. That's something which we are also leveraging as part of our audit execution and the way we do our risk assessments. But I would say, looking ahead, we are looking at an overall internal audit strategy refresh. We just had a session with Deloitte, and we'll provide more updates in the March meeting. But we're looking at how do we look at key focus areas, for example, AI, audit reporting, integrated assurance. How do we collaborate between the three lines of defense and talent management? And these efforts, will position us to deliver deeper insights, faster resolution, and strong alignment with NIPA's strategic priorities.
Yeah, that combination of effectiveness and efficiency, obviously critically important. So
yeah. I'm excited.
Hearing more. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've had a great session with the team, And I think the session with Deloitte was a validation on what we were kind of thinking. So we met last week with them, kind of shared, where do we want to kind of focus on like, audit reporting, how do we integrate with, Alexa's team and IBC? How do we have more synergy, taxonomy in terms of, how we rate issues? And how do we reduce duplication of efforts? So that's near and dear to me to kind of make sure the collaboration between the three lines is strong, so we can reduce some of that impact on the businesses.
Okay, great. Yeah, look forward to hearing more for sure.
Yeah. Next slide, please. These are required communications. I'm not going to get too much into the detail, but these are required communication in terms of what I'm required to communicate as part of the audit committee, as part of our IA standards. One thing I would want to highlight is as part of and Nishita and Ignacio will get into this, is the audit committee charter and the internal audit charter, because we've had new standards by IAA. We are looking to update that, and that's something we will bring to the table in the March audit committee for review and approval.
And Salman, to the extent that your new standards require incremental investments, then what's the process? Do you bring those to the audit committee, or do you bring those to finance to think about budgeting those on a go-forward basis? How does that continuum work?
Yeah, we'll talk to the specifics. I have the team, and I don't want to steal their thunder, but it is actually collaboration between the company, right? So it's looking at our audit processes, right? Reporting, field work, planning, budgeting, a lot of areas which are part of the IA standards, and that's going to be incremental progress. We've already made a lot of progress, and I'll let our leadership team talk a little bit more about that. But that's essentially collaboration between all lines of defense.
I think implicit in that question is to ensure, we know your dialogue with Dennis in particular as chair, but we as a committee know what you want, need, understand, and support the collaboration, but want to ensure you don't feel that you have other than the access you need from us, because we'll support and be part of that as needed as well. So, okay. Good open flow and dialogue so that we're well aware, okay?
Yep.
Doesn't otherwise get filtered up to us, that there's direct line of communication. I think
that
was implicit in your point, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Yep. All right. So next slide. So I'm going to welcome members from our team, our leadership team, Ignacio and Nishita, and we'll walk through the QA results, and I'll be back for the budget.
Okay. Good.
Good morning, trustees,
Good morning. Good morning.
NYPA colleagues, and members of the public. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Ignacio Bullrich. I'm a director of internal audit. I've been with the company for 5 years and very excited to have Salman with us. I'm very excited to talk about the results of our external quality assessment, which was completed earlier this year. This review is done as part of our commitment to excellence. It's a requirement by the Audit Committee Charter and the Institute of Internal Auditors as well. And it's essential, it's conducted every 5 years, and essential to ensure that we continue to be effective and compliant with professional standards. Earlier this year, the external assessor came in and interviewed members of the board. They interviewed Justin and other senior leaders within the organization, and they evaluated our processes, our talent, and how we engage with our stakeholders. I'm sorry. No, next slide. Here we go. So we are very pleased to say that we have received generally conforms. That's the highest rating possible. We received it overall and for each one of the standards. Some of the key highlights that were brought up by the assessor included most notably our strategic plan. It was highlighted that we were very closely aligned with Vision 2030 and that it was evolving with NYPA's priorities. And secondly, our dynamic risk assessment process, which was recognized for the ability to integrate stakeholder input. So our audit plan remains relevant But since excellence is a journey, we do have some key takeaways.
They didn't talk about the quality and strength of the audit committee?
Of course they did.
At least the audit
They
committee
did talk
chair.
about,
At least the chair.
so there was good mention about the
Oh, okay, good.
communication.
Just wondering.
See, audit can be exciting. The key takeaways were that we do need to adjust some of our current practices to be able to align to the global internal audit standards that are going to be effective and that Salman mentioned previously. I'll draw your attention to the second, to the right side of the, to the right side of the slide. The new standards do seek to strengthen the role of internal audit in the organizations. There's a strong emphasis in making sure that the audit departments are aligned with the strategic objectives of the organization, so NIPA. And there's a stronger emphasis on risk-based and value-focused auditing and increasing stakeholder engagement. The good news is that we are over 80% there. And as Salman did mention before, in the coming months, we will be focusing on updating and seeking approval for our internal audit charter, updating our QAIP methodology, which Nishita will get into in a moment, and then increasing our alignment with second line functions. The review did underscore our commitment to the highest levels, to the highest standards, and it does lay a solid foundation for how we're going to evolve as an audit department. And we are well positioned to provide you, the board, and senior leadership, the assurances that you need to make sure that we do achieve Vision 2030. So with that,
Congrats, that's great.
are there any questions?
Obviously, we all like to get good report card, so.
Yes,
give a
we
report
do.
Card on ourselves, so well done.
Yep. Okay. So with that, I will turn it over to Nishita to talk about the QAP.
All right. Good morning, trustees, colleagues, and members of the public. I am Nishita Modi, Director of Internal Audit, and I'm happy to be here today. So continuing, can we move on to the next slide? Sorry. Thank you. So continuing from Ignacio's coverage of the external assessment, I'm here to cover or emphasize the importance of internal audit's quality assurance and improvement for the QAIP program, which is foundational to ensure that we maintain a high quality function. So why is the quality assurance improvement program important? So having an annual QAIP review program helps us ensure that we're continually providing ongoing assurance to the audit committee and senior management on the quality and the credibility of our practices. Having an internal review also helps support the successful outcomes of the external assessments that Ignacio just walked us through. So just a little background about the QAIP program. It was established back in 2019. And since then, the QAIP team has been performing annual reviews diligently, following IIA's methodology. And the reviews over the last 5 years have consistently been generally conforms, which is the highest of the 3 possible ratings as established by the IIA's quality assurance framework and reflects the excellence and maturity of the internal audit function. And I just wanted to highlight that this year, so the quality assurance team completed a review for 2024, which I guess you could say that we're self-auditing ourselves. And what we identified is that it reconfirmed the full alignment and conformance to IIA's professional practices standards, as well as to the code of ethics. It also corroborated the quality, the high quality of internal audit's governance and audit practices. So there were 3 key strengths that were highlighted from this internal review, including the proficiency of the internal audit's leadership and staff that is highly qualified, credentialed, and experienced to better understand and meet the needs of the business, anchored by strong governance from the audit committee and senior management, Another key strength is internal audit's active and appropriate role in affecting good governance practices across the organization. The review also identified internal audit's dynamic internal processes. Being agile, we're able to adapt to the changing risk profiles within the organization, build stronger relationships with the stakeholders, as well as approach the business dynamically so that we can continue to align with NYPA's strategic objectives. So these core strengths enabled us to achieve the highest ratings for both the internal and external assessments. So this review supports and validates the work we do, but also helps us enhance and build upon what we've already achieved. I'd like to also add that for continued excellence, the review identified 4 areas of improvement, which would further benefit the program with minimal effort. 2 of the 4 opportunities have already been completed, and I'm happy to say that it has enhanced the overall governance of the internal audit function. The remaining 2 efforts include the implementation of an assurance map, which should help align the assurance functions across the organization, optimize assurance activities across NYPA, as well as help identify gaps in coverage. So that's an activity that's ongoing, and we expect to complete that by the second quarter of 2025. Just want to note that it is not a compliance requirement, but it is a standard best practice that we think would help elevate the assurance across the organization. The second ongoing effort is related to what Ignacio touched upon earlier, is internal audits alignment to the updated global internal audit standards, which we're actively working on aligning to, and are confident that we should be able to complete that by the first quarter of 2025. So just want to say, overall, these review activities throughout 2024 have served us well. Once the QIP team kicks off their 2025 review, I'm confident, well, internal audit is confident, that we should be able to implement all of the enhancement activities and ensure that the internal audit team remains strong in order to meet and support NYPA as it marches towards meeting its Vision 2030 goals. So with that, I did want to mention that the full copy of the external audit report, as well as a summary of the internal assessment, is included in the appendix in the audit committee materials. So with that, I want to thank you for your time and your continued support, and I'll open it up for questions.
Great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, kudos.
Awesome.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great results. I wasn't here, but all the good work was done by the team. So I want to kind of congratulate them. Yeah. So yeah, we're very proud of the results we've delivered here. Just overall focus, how we were looking at, strategically as well, aligning with the new standards. So yeah, looking forward to that journey. So with that, we will move to the next agenda item, which is our internal audit budget. The next slide. I took a little different approach. I broke down our 2024 spend to actual, and then the next update is going to be on the 2025. Just to kind of give some context, I know Chairman Koelmel, you've focused on this area, so I wanted to kind of make sure we're able to provide all the data necessary. Overall, I would say our audit, our approach, reflects a balance between building expertise, bringing in new technology, institutional knowledge, And one of the areas which I'm highly focused in is how do we grow our team internally, bring in more institutional knowledge, bring new leadership, grow the existing leadership, and bring in then sort of our core source partners for areas which are requiring subject matter expertise like cybersecurity, IT, and AI. So we are highly focused on the building the team and how do we build that knowledge and sort of cross collaboration and pollination between the teams. So our 2024 budget, we're on track. We are at 82% as of November, keeping us on track. I would want to comment on some key variances, which is on our software maintenance. We had budgeted about 800,000, but we came under. And I would say, part of that was contingency we had for the issue management tool, because there was plans to implement an issue management tool this year, which happened. Hence, we didn't need that contingency to go to another platform. So issue management is very key on how we track observations. So we were able to leverage Archer for that purpose. And other areas where we did not have the spend was on our enhancements to the Archer tool. The plan was, for the new CAE to come in and then kind of look at strategically how do we want to kind of look at our enhancement to our audit tool. And then also the same is for the audit analytics platform. We ended up saving on that as well because we used our Microsoft 365 license, which brought some savings. And then I would say, Adam, a lot of that cost was also absorbed by IT. So a lot of the work we did, we were able to kind of have IT absorb some of that cost. So the good news is, we're going to be under. Our audit consulting budget was about 2.5. Last I checked with Ken, who managed our budget process, we'll probably end our audit consulting at 2.2. And part of that is that we've brought on new folks. We've offset some of that burden from our consulting more in-house, and we'll continue to grow our team. So there's no questions. We can move to the next slide.
So what are
Yeah.
you forecasting for the full year? Is this,
This is 2024 status.
but is this 24 calendar or 24 audit calendar, which is what April one?
This
right?
is 24 calendar, so January to December.
Okay, so you're forecasting, based on your 25 budget, which is I think like 7.4 or something a little less than what are you forecasting for the full year then? We're all but a few weeks away. So you're 6.6, where are you thinking you will end?
We will probably end at about 7.8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think your budget is going to be less than where you think you'll end this year?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going then. All right.
Yeah. And that's part of the because we were able to hire folks, and we also had some savings on the consulting spend because of overall efficiencies. We can move to the next slide. So this is our 2025 proposed budget. We are forecasting about 7.43 reduction as compared to 2024. A lot of that saving is driven off the software maintenance as we transition to the new GRC platform. We did budget for the 3 open resources. So we do have 3 full-time positions, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. As it pertains to these resources, we have had good progress. This is one of the areas I'm highly focused on, is to bring on new staff. We broaden our criteria to include risk management experience in addition to audit experience, which has significantly improved the candidate pool. We have about 11 candidates in the pipeline, and knock on wood, we're looking in the final stages and making potential offers as well. Hiring of those 3 resources is expected to save us about 500,000 consulting costs. So overall, I think we've done well to manage the budget And from a 2025 perspective, I feel confident about execution of the plan based on.
Clarify some of
Yes.
the 550. I didn't follow that. I looked at the materials. So are you saying audit consulting would have been north of 3 million had you not hired those three? I mean, all audit consulting year over year is flat or up a little bit.
Yeah.
So at first I thought it would be down by the 500K. Are you saying it would have been up by 500K if you didn't hire those three people? I'm not
If we
connecting the dots.
yeah, so if we do hire those 3 people, which we are interviewing for,
Yeah.
then we would save about 550,000
Off the 2.5?
off the 2.5. Yes.
So that 550 isn't included in any numbers up there. You're
Correct.
saying that's the potential.
Potential. Yes.
I got it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for that question.
Okay.
Yep.
So you could get it down to $7 million.
Correct.
You could 7 million or less ideally.
Yes.
And what's the overall pipeline on talent? I mean, are you finding
Yeah.
good talent rate, still able to attract relevant, interest and?
Yeah, we have about 11 to 12 candidates in the pipeline who we're speaking to, few individuals who have kind of progressed to the final stages.
Okay.
One of the things, Chairman Koelmel, we did was that we broadened our requirements. Previously, our job description was like, we need internal audit background. But because risk management is such a key area, we've kind of expanded that criteria.
Okay.
So more people
Okay,
can
so
come
a
in.
wider net
It
here?
widens so people from an organization can also apply for those roles,
Okay,
because previously it would have been internal audit background, and that's really helped us kind of from an HR perspective get more quality candidates.
all right, great.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
to hear.
Yeah. My philosophy is like
Teach them to audit.
yeah, teach them to audit. Yes, yeah. Hire good people.
Yeah.
But you can teach them the skills to audit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it's 7 million, Dennis, write that down.
Got it, I got it.
Got it down
We'll
to
make it
7.
happen, no problem.
Yeah.
Keep 'em on track.
All right.
Adam has it as well.
I wasn't gonna bring that up, but I know he's counting over there. Since Rob already subsidized part of the budget for this year, so Salman's making friends all over here.
So Salman, one question, as you think about, you've been here 3-4 months now, you've taken a look at all of our activities, your team are an exceptional team. Situate NIPA from other big companies you have seen, is that the right budget for a $4, $5, $6 billion top line, very complex, multi-divisional growth company? Does that feel right to you based on your experience?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, good question. Well, 2 months. Well, I'm still learning about.
Fast. Seems like
Yes.
you're in a flow.
Yeah, but I think I would say, with the strategic plan, with what we're doing in our Vision 2030, refresh, the transmission, renewable, I think, it's going to expand the skill set we'll need as well as the expertise we'll need. So I'm overly cautious on that side but I think
Oh, there goes the 550.
yeah. But I would say, I think organization is right size.
Okay.
But as we kind of look at our, as I kind of move forward in terms of how do we strategically use the analytics, how do we look at reduction in our GRC and other capabilities and efficiencies there, right? So that's going to be my areas of focus. Coming from the banking side of things, right? That's one of the first questions.
Yeah.
So no.
And as you go forward, feel free to come back to our chair of audit, or, as a governance matter, we're charged with ensuring that you have and your team have all the right tools and resources as we look out to Vision 2030, right? So,
Yeah.
so we want, as the chairman said a few moments ago, we want to lean in. So,
Yes.
so it actually is timely for you to come in to help us think through that as we continue to expand and grow all of the activities that NIPA is doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, as we expand, that will give us a good sense in terms of, what do we need from audit perspective and the number of audits we do.
Someone have a better idea of telling you things in March, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and hopefully AI and otherwise we can
Yeah.
be a little more efficient and reallocate some, resources rather than just be incremental and all the rest of that. So you guys further lean in and more time. Great. Look forward to hearing more next time around. So thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
So with that, next slide is going to be, so as part of our IA standards, this is one of the items, we're bringing to the audit committee for review.
I'm happy to
and
move it.
approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Salman. Get the
Thank you.
first purchase.
Yeah.
Gets harder.
Looking forward.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
KPMG time.
Yes. All right, Jonathan.
All right. Go on for it.
Going to ask Chris D'Angelo, partner at KPMG, to present his update.
Chris, right?
Chris and
Chris and Chris.
not only Chris and Chris D'Angelo and Chris Davanzo.
All right.
Someone has a sense of humor. I don't know who it is. So good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Good morning, trustees. Good morning, management. Good morning, public. Again, my name's Chris D'Angelo, partner with KPMG. Taking over this account from Scott Heiser. The Power Authority has a rule that every 5 years, the audit partner on the account needs to rotate. So Scott, in normal due course, he has rotated off, and I'm happily humbled to take on the account for the next 5 or so years. Also happy that we re-signed a new 5-year contract between KPMG and the Power Authority that takes us through 2029, 8, how that math works. So thank you. Excited that we signed that contract and continue to work with the Power Authority as your external auditors. So since this is my first time in front of you all, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. I appreciate the Mets joke. I am born and raised in Philadelphia, so that hurts doubly hard this past year.
We got you. You're a big Mets fan for your chair, so you're gonna have to duke it out.
I know. I feel like in the interest of full disclosure, I feel like I had to say that I'm a Phillies fan.
You can wear a Phillies hat anytime. That's all right.
Okay. I feel like we had the Mets number for years. So much for having the Mets number. I think that's coming to an end real soon here. So anyway, I've been with KPMG over 20 years, a lot of power and utilities experience, government owned, independent power producers, regulated, unregulated. So plenty of utility experience as part of my background. I spent time in New York, Philadelphia, Houston for the various clients that I work on. A couple of the priorities that I think I have looking forward, working with the Power Authority. We already have a great relationship with Adam and Sandeep and his team and the entire personnel of Power Authority. I want to continue to enhance that relationship. Here at KPMG, we have a whole wealth of resources, non-audit related. We have great relationships on the tax side, advisory side. Part of my objective is to continue to enhance those relationships and see where else we as a firm can bring even more added value to the Power Authority. From an audit specific perspective, two things that I wanted to highlight, and Chris will touch on the slides as well. One is on accelerating our work, meaning the traditional busy season that you think of from an auditor perspective is you get after year end, and then the lead up to the deadline is a lot of hours, a lot of overtime to make sure the financial statements get issued on the 31st or 30th. What Chris and I are focused on is make sure accelerating that work as much as possible. My understanding is we've done some of that. I want to continue that journey to reduce the burden for our team, for Adam and Sandeep's team in year end, do more work before year end. So we're more on cruise control to issue those financial statements instead of burning the midnight oil to get those financial statements issued. And then the third,
doesn't sound like it'd be half as much fun.
it's not yesterday's audit. That's the intention and goal. And we see it through our audit quality results. We see it in employee retention. There's so many tangible benefits to it that we really have focused on it the last couple of years. And then the third thing I wanted to mention, and happy that the internal audit report discussed this as well, is from a technology perspective. We are heavily leaning into data and analytics, artificial intelligence. They basically are telling us, leadership, you should be we use Copilot, we use ChatGPT. It's in our audit software tools right now. we should be using AI every single day.
Hmm.
And things that you don't think to use it for, you should be using it for. I actually wrote into AI yesterday, write me an introduction to an audit committee where I am taking over as new lead partner, and write an introduction for me. It's probably just as good as what I just went through. It's awfully impressive. Talking about accelerating work, maximizing use of technology. So it's impressive. And the more you lean into it, the more you leverage it, it makes us more efficient. It makes us less disruptive as part of the audit for the Power Authority. So I'm excited to use it, and I'm challenging Chris and the team as well to make sure they're utilizing it as well. So I'm going to leave.
Welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome
Thank you.
to the process and NIPA. And we
Thank
look
you.
forward to working with you.
Appreciate it.
Proud of the organization, and Adams and Deep and the team exemplify that. But yeah, would echo your sentiments, want to lean into and tap the resources that you have, as you know, and we'll talk more about it today. Our plate is overflowing, and the opportunities as well, the demands and expectations are higher than ever. So clearly want to benefit from the value add that you can otherwise bring and want to as well. So look forward to that.
Great. Appreciate
And
it.
our AI will talk to your AI.
And then we don't need to do anything. They take care of it all. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, ready?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna get out of your
So I'm
way.
just going to run through some of our required audit plan slides. So if you jump ahead, I believe, to slide 3. So this outlines our deliverables. It's a consistent list with what you guys have seen in the past and what we've issued in the past. So we have our audit report on the business type activities, the consolidated financial statements, as well as our audit report over the fiduciary fund statements, which is the OPEB trust that NIPA has. We also issue an internal control report, which is the yellow book opinion in accordance with government auditing standards. And then the report on the authority's investment compliance as of year end. So that's making sure that the investment portfolio is in line with board approved policies. Last one here, and I think we talked about this one a little bit last year as it was a new one. This is your single audit report. We're currently assessing with management if this will be applicable for this year. It ultimately was not last year, but this relates to federal funds that are received for grants. If you meet a certain threshold, I believe it's $750K of federal grants, that would trigger a single audit opinion. I believe there was about, I was talking to Sandeep earlier, about 10 million of funds received, but they were state funds at this point. So nothing that would require a federal single audit at this point. But obviously, as we continue here, if there's anything received before year end or anything that comes to management's attention or our attention that would require it, we'll continue to assess that and determine if this report will be applicable.
Hey, Chris, it's interesting because some of those state funds, though, are from federal funds, right?
Right, so they, in that case, right, they have a full funding agreement with the feds and they will be responsible.
The
for
state
single
is
audit
responsible. Got it.
Correct, yeah.
As opposed to
Right,
us.
we're a
Yep.
sub-recipient in those cases.
And our new subsidiary, Adam, doesn't require an audit, or
It does,
it's not going to get funded until 25 or what?
no, we'll have money, so it doesn't need to be audited this year.
This year?
There's no activity to really mention, but next year certainly will be audited, subject to an audit.
Other than our,
As part of the regular.
other than the
audit.
deposit of our, we don't need to audit our initial funding?
Right, well, I'm just saying, I don't think it's gonna rise to the level of a full
Yeah, okay.
audit.
Being facetious, but okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was similar to what happened with captive, where you
Yeah.
just did initial funding and then an audit requirement was triggered after that. So
Okay.
jumping ahead to the next slide. Sorry, you could go one more forward. This is a summary. So again, as Chris mentioned, over the last couple of years with Scott and working under Scott, we've made a lot of efforts and a lot of progress on acceleration of the audit. It's a full emphasis of our firm. They track our progress based on our audit documentation and audit file. So requirement is somewhere around 30% by calendar year end. We are looking to get somewhere in 40-50%, be halfway done, and really only focusing on things at year end that we couldn't do earlier. So that involves technology usage. So one of the things we're looking into this year is a technology tool for revenue, which basically takes prior year data, current year data, analyzes the movements year over year in the activity and spits out things that are outliers that say, hey, you need to go do something else here. All that low stuff where it's consistent period over period, don't have to touch. We can conclude that we have sufficient audit evidence there. So it really focuses our effort on maybe 10 items versus the 30 when we would sample. So it saves management time and us time in our audit effort. Other areas we've accelerated consistent with prior years is OPEB, pensions, investments. We've made great strides in moving that work up, and we continue to as well again this year. And then just our working relationship with management. Our team has a great relationship, as Chris mentioned, and everyone's mentioned that we work well with Adam, Sundeep, open lines of communication on audit progress, things that we need from them, things they need from us. So just continuing those efforts, which, each year we've made progress over the last 5 years. Jumping ahead to next slide. You can go ahead one more. This is an overall agenda for the materials behind here. So you can jump ahead one more slide. This outlines our client service team. So obviously Chris taking over for Scott as the lead partner, but I just want to highlight, as you can see, there's strong continuity elsewhere on the team. So our concurrent partner is back. Obviously I'm here as the lead senior manager, Ryan Gibbons, the supporting manager who was here last year, who you guys met, as well as our lead senior leading the staff back again. And our subcontractor firms, Team Avaloria and LIFMS, are helping us, supporting us with the audit again as well. So a lot of continuity across the team.
Looks like the whole slide is blue to me. Am I missing something or no? Okay.
It looks like Chris should have been a different color.
Okay, I was just auditing the slide for you there.
That's a good catch.
All right, that's no problem.
So outside of him and his fresh,
It's just real-time
perspective.
feedback,
Yeah,
with no AI needed, and just let you know, okay.
appreciate
It's
it.
HI, human intelligence.
Appreciate it. Okay.
I know you don't appreciate it, but that's fine.
No, it's a good catch. Should be white or something. I don't know.
Just busting your, keep going, Chris, you're doing fine.
Okay, jumping ahead to the next slide. Just some materiality highlights. Only thing I'll point out here is it's a matter of judgment. We said materiality as part of developing our audit approach, aggregating misstatements if we do come across any, and it considers the needs of the users of the financial statement. So, there's qualitative and quantitative considerations that go into developing materiality as part of developing our audit approach. Jumping ahead to the next slide. So again, our timeline, relatively consistent with prior years, so I won't go through all the details. But this October to December time period that we're in now, this is where all of our acceleration efforts are focused. So again, moving up work that would have been done in that last bucket into this bucket creates a smoother audit process, better audit quality, and things of that nature. At the bottom here, again, filing date on or before March 31st, 2025, consistent with the prior year timing. Jumping ahead to the next slide. So as part of our preliminary risk assessment, we have one identified significant risk, which is the management override of controls. It's a risk of fraud. It's a risk of fraud on all our audits that we perform. It's not something that is specific to NYPA. So, we'll do a number of things to address that throughout the audit, which we'll provide an update on at the year-end meeting. And then just to highlight some of the significant audit areas, again, a lot of consistency. There's factors here, size and nature of the account for revenue, capital assets, measurement uncertainty for some of the estimates identified. So pension and OPEB obligations, marketable securities. Consistent with prior years of where the big areas that we'll spend a lot of time on the audit. Jumping ahead to the next slide. Here's the summary of involvement of others. It's very consistent with prior years, so I won't touch upon too much here, but actuarial specialists, national pricing desk. We read internal audit reports throughout the year just to help gauge where potential risk is in the audit that we can dedicate some time to. So all consistent with our approach in prior years. Jumping ahead. Cybersecurity reminders. As part of our audit, we develop an understanding of management's process as it relates to cybersecurity, their assessment of risks related to cybersecurity, and really focus on if a cybersecurity event occurred, what the response was, if it impacts the financial statements, if there's any exposure there, and assess if incremental work needs to be done related to that. Moving ahead to the next slide. So here are a timeline in the next 2 years, newly effective accounting standards. The one I'll touch on here is GASB 101, which I think management has completed their assessment of and adoption of, which relates to compensated absences. So it's a little bit more of a actuarial determined number rather than just accruing for compensated absences that would be recorded if a termination payment was going to be made out. So there's a little bit more of a projection of what will be paid out in the future. It's not something that we would consider material, the adoption this year, but something that we probably will take a peek at just to understand the adoption, make sure the risk that the adoption couldn't be much larger than it was. So everything else here, we'll assess, we'll discuss with management, nothing that we would expect to have a material impact on the financial statements.
What's the purpose of GASB 103, the financial model improvement? Is that assessing NYPA's financial modeling and its accuracy? And
it's really what it does is it's a disclosure impact for companies. There's various ways that they're disclosing different things related to their financial reporting, and usually when these come out, they're aimed at making the financial statements more comparable so a user can understand the nuances between the two. So it's not so much of like an overall financial statement number impact, it's more of what you're disclosing and how you can compare between entities. And that's what a lot of these are. Compensated absences on here is really the only one that would have a financial statement impact, where there's, like I mentioned, there's an actuarial change to how you're accruing for compensated absences.
So nothing that we're expecting to have any material or significant impact on us.
No,
No,
we've spoken about the GASB 101 implementation. So we finished the work with the actuary this year, which is Buck Consulting, I think owned by Gallagher now, and it turned out to be an adjustment of $20 million to get in conformance with the new standards. So it's not a significant number, but we've already taken that into.
So we're going to eliminate absences or eliminating compensation for absences to rectify that?
Right. It's a future look in terms of as people earn what they potentially would get paid out over time, rather than looking at balances today that you'd pay out if people were to, leave service. So it's just a forward-looking, actuarial-based measurement, just like we do for retiree healthcare or pensions. It's become just another element like that.
Okay.
Jumping ahead. Just some reminders on independence. Something that management and the audit team work together on, understanding what affiliates there are at NYPA to make sure we're maintaining our independence, what services we're providing to NYPA. Through our assessment, we continually assess this throughout, though nothing to report. We remain independent of NYPA as of today's date. Moving ahead to the next slide, just reminders regarding open communication between management, KPMG, and the audit committee. Moving ahead to the next slide. This outlines inquiries we'll be performing throughout the performance of the audit. I guess the one note here is if anything on this list here comes to anyone's attention on the audit committee, don't hesitate to reach out to us. But yeah, usually during year end, we have inquiries with executive management, general counsel, things like that. So that will all be performed as part of our audit. And then I believe the rest of the presentation is appendices. some audit committee focus items, AI discussion, audit quality, transparency report of KPMG. A lot of it is a summary slide. There's a lot of links and further details, so we would be happy to provide any further details on any of the items that was included in the appendices, or if you had any questions, happy to. And as well, any questions on any of the materials presented, happy to answer them now.
Anything in the 40 to 40+% of the work that you've completed to date that we need to be alert to or in tune with? No caution flags, no red flags in the work that's been completed to date?
No, nothing to date. One thing we're continuing, like these next 2 weeks, are probably a focus is the revenue technology tool to try to save some effort. So there's a little bit of a lift in year one to get that implemented, obviously, because working with a lot of data, getting it functioning with our tool. So nothing to say that there's any issues,
No
but just
audit
something we're
findings,
working
that's what I'm
to.
saying.
Yeah,
Nothing we
no.
need to be aware of at this point.
No, nothing through all of our interim work that we've identified.
Great. Well, thank you, Chris and Chris. Any other questions for Chris or Chris? Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming in. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Good work. Thank you.
So there's no vote required on this update. Next, you got the consent agendas now before the members for adoption. It's a approval of the joint minutes of the regular meeting held on March 26th. Ask for a motion.
So moved.
Laurie's got it. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next meeting of the audit committee is scheduled for March 25th, 2025. Is there a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.